let's talk about that just because that was going viral this morning a little bit in terms of a trending topic. So let me find it really quick. Matt Walsh of the Daily Wire, he was trending a bit this morning because he was going after Kristi Noem, the governor of South Dakota, who has been as anti-mask, anti-vax, clearly just appealing to COVID denials throughout the country. I can't think of a governor who's been more visible than maybe DeSantis or Greg Abbott in this area. And those are way bigger states. So Noem has been on the national stage giving the base what they want for quite a long time. But not enough for Matt Walsh. And so, of course, he resorts to misogyny, right? That's what he's got to do. When she doesn't give him exactly what he wants in terms of the very specific brand of COVID denial that he wants her to engage in, well, immediately goes to misogyny.
I tell you what, I am done and have been done for a long time with these Republicans who are too afraid to use their power. What is it you want to do, Kristi? I mean, you don't want to use your power here. You didn't want to use your power over schools to stop them from putting men into women's sports. Just like the Republican governor in Arkansas didn't want to use his power to stop children from being genitally mutilated. So what do you want to use your power to do? You have it. What do you expect to do? Well, the answer is for these Republicans, they expect to do nothing. They want to be given the power just so that they have it. And then they want to sit there and do nothing and wait until they're out of power. And then they can start talking again about all the things they would be doing if they only had that power again. That's the game for Republicans. It has been that same game for decades now. When they're out of power, they say, give us the power. There's so many things. Here's all the things we could do. And then the voters say, okay, well, here you go. And then instead of doing things, they spend their time coming up with excuses and saying, well, hang on, actually, we can't do that because X, Y, Z, and no, that's not going to work because of these reasons over here. And if we do this over here, well, then the Democrats will do it when they're in power. No use for these Republicans who have made themselves useless. No use for Kristi Noem. Kristi Noem is a very attractive woman.
There we go.
So she's got that going for her. That, as far as I can tell, that's the only reason why she was ever looked at as some sort of 2024 potential frontrunner.
It keeps going.
The hype and everything that she's gotten from conservative media is entirely based on the fact that she's an extremely attractive woman, which she is.
No, dig up.
But, you put 50 pounds on her and another 20 years.
It just keeps going.
I don't think she gets any of the hype.
It's like 20 seconds left of this.
Because outside of that, she's just your standard sort of corporatist establishment Republican who's not interested in doing anything.
And I think she's so fucking hot. Right. So
hey, honey, Kristi Noem.
He just keeps going, right? He just keeps going. This was over because I guess she didn't preemptively ban vaccine mandates. So he's like, why aren't you doing what my boy Greg Abbott's doing down in Texas, huh? If you put 50 pounds on you, I'm not going to want to screw you anymore. And then what good are you for me?
Hey, Kristi, ban the vaccines or get back in the kitchen. Oh!
So, Kristi Noem has responded to this. I don't know if you saw this.
I did. She says it's very misogynistic. Oh, now that it affects her, she's going to speak out against misogyny.
She says, instead of engaging in a debate about the proper role of government and how it isn't conservative to tell people how to do business, Matt Walsh stoops to horrible misogyny. Eyes up here, Matt. That's what...
Eyes up here. Oh, wow.
What's interesting is,
whatever's happening right now, it's like the blurriest thing I've ever seen.
That was the tweet. But
Matt accidentally turned on Google Translate with hieroglyphics, apparently.
I know, right?
It's funny because Noem was originally hitting DeSantis and Abbott for masks and stuff like that. Look, we're still doing Sturgis. They just had Sturgis again, and it caused a massive spike, if you could believe it, or it coincided with, let's not be too hasty, but it looks very likely that it caused, again, another spike that's going to infect surrounding states. So the idea that maybe we should allow businesses to force customers to have vaccine proof isn't the worst thing in the world right now after a massive fuck up like the second Sturgis COVID mass spreader event.
Well, and also you got to think Kristi Noem is thinking in her head just like, Jesus Christ, I rented out the National Guard to go down to the border for nothing. I thought that would build goodwill with you people. I thought that you wouldn't just completely turn to talking about how I wouldn't be that hot if I got fat. Like, duh, I thought that stunt was going to buy me some time. And then immediately, because she doesn't do exactly what Matt Walsh wants, she's not even talented. All she's good for is just her looks.
And
Hey, Kristi, you gotta ban the mask or we can't see your pretty face, hon.
Yeah, I mean, she wasn't really ever polling well. She hasn't polled above Candace Owens as far as I know for like 2024. It's all theoretical, and like it is probably because Matt Walsh and his like Daily Wire folks, that's where he's at, right? Like talk about how hot she is all the time. Like,
right.
I think there's a lot of projection going on here.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. It's the same thing with like AOC, right? They basically say she's like a stupid bimbo, and secretly they just all want to hook up with her.
And let's watch this video of her dancing again.
I know. Put it in slow-mo and maybe to some music like boom, 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 or whatever.
This might make me the asshole, but like if you voted for her just because you think she's hot, that's you. That says more about you than it does about her. Obviously, I think the psychosexual obsession of the far right with like the women that belong to like politics generally is, you could fill a whole book with it, and many have been filled with their like weird, kinks. But I think this new level of like AOC has broken their brain, like, completely agnostic of any of her politics. Like they have she lives rent free in their head because like they think of her as like just too pretty for politics. It's very
that's it, right? Because it used to be old white men, and they could just kind of make that's politics. And then I go to my dirty magazines for what I want to see there, or my wife. I'm trying to take it back to the 70s or 80s here, but now it's confuses them. Oh, it's a woman, and it's a woman who's not Dianne Feinstein in terms of age. Like, how do I square this? And as soon as it doesn't compute with their exact worldview, they go to misogyny.
Well, I mean, I hate to sort of like be all Freudo-Marxist on people, but like they're obsessed with their own impotence. They're obsessed with being cucked. They're obsessed with the idea of cucking. They're obsessed with the idea of like, white genocide as manifest through like Black interracial dating, and in little moments like this, obviously they're misogynist, but of course it just comes across as just like him spilling his like feelings or, insecurities about women and, that can map onto a large portion of the far right, just like out into the open. Mm-hmm. Even as he like trails off and just goes like, yeah, because if she were fat, we would all be like not into that, right?
Right.
Matt Walsh is especially egregious when it comes to everything you just said. I feel like he is just like mask off all the time with Matt Walsh.
Well, when he's not running down to like the school board meetings to complain about the schools his kids do not go to.
He's done that actually.
He does it all the time. I mean, I think the far right, one of the things the caller mentioned earlier, I did some work on school boards in grad school. And like, back then the one I was studying was not a big sort of battleground for any particular legislation. But like the far right, I think appreciates the potentiality of local politics to keep people riled up forever. And also, contribute to that culture they have of just like very public, tantrums. Every time Kevin Sorbo goes into a Starbucks and they don't wish him Merry Christmas, he just has to cause a huge scene. And they're just a lot more comfortable with that than I think, most normal shame amount having people.
All right.
Normal shame amount having.
People who have the normal amounts of shame.
Yeah. Yeah. Would you say
Matt, I was going to one day dig up that phrasing by you and put it in a compilation.
I'm fine with that. Honestly, I think everyone gets it. I've never claimed to be the world's greatest orator.
You actually are quite the orator, which makes, I think, that one stand out more.
Folks, there's more of what you've just saw where that came from. That's if you hit the subscribe and like button. Thank you. Really, thank you.